you, Caitlin Bristow, Carly Pierce, Kaylee Dickerson, all drinking wine, and I've never wanted to be invited to a wine night more. Lindsay Ell, thank you so much for being here with us. I am so excited to talk to you about music, life in quarantine, the whole thing. So thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, Emily, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, where are you at in your house right now? This looks like cool studio vibes.
It is such a cool studio. I'm actually out in Asheville for a couple days. Girl, I'm not used to being home for this long. I mean, last year we were touring 280 days in a given year, and that's probably been my busiest year I've ever had, but it's literally was a 180-degree flip from that. And so I came out to Asheville for a couple days just to get away, and even just to be, okay, do I still travel for a living? Like, what is life right now?
What would you say is the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself during this time?
Whew. I mean, I'd say this is the most surprising when really it's not. Everything in hindsight is 2020, but girl, I'm not good at slowing down. I just am like a little Energizer bunny, and I go. And it has been really incredible to sort of take a hot minute. And granted, quarantine has been very busy for me because I've been finishing a record, putting together this album package and everything. But in that same light, I feel like right now I'm just really prioritizing what's important in my life and who are the people who I really want to invest in. Like those few friendships that instead of going wide, you go really deep with them, and having like concentrated conversation. And so I've been learning a lot about that and beginning to see balance as something that enriches everything else.
And I'm glad that you mentioned friends, because I wanted to ask you, I saw an Instagram post recently where it was like this close-knit group of Nashville friends, you, Caitlin Bristow, Carly Pierce, Kaylee Dickerson, all drinking wine, and I've never wanted to be invited to a wine night more. I love this friend group. How did you guys all initially meet? How did those friendships sort of come to life?
You know, I love some of my girlfriends in Nashville. I feel like we have really fostered our friendships just because we are all fighting a lot of the same battles every day. And you know, I have a couple of girlfriends from back home that I still keep in touch with, but there's like a level of understanding from fellow female artists, or you know, a personality like Caitlin, where they just understand the ups and downs and how to navigate the industry, and how you know are spilling your soul out to fans, and sometimes they like walk all over it, and it's just like they really understand the dynamics of the emotional roller coaster of what my life is like every single day. And so it is so incredible to have friends that truly can like sit in those feelings with you and help you process things, and you know, they get it to a level of, you know, other friends wouldn't.
Right. I mean, because they're in it too, like you were saying. I mean, and it is, I feel like, a whole different world, a whole different scale that you're navigating.
It is a whole different world. And so, yeah, I've just gotten to be really close with those girls, and I love each of them to death. They're just such incredible spirits and hearts. And it's nice to have like a group of female friends who inspire you, like to be better. Like watching Kaylee and Russell's marriage. And of course they have a baby on the way,
so
but it's excited. Just, I'm so excited for them too. And they're just such a beautiful couple. Like they're one of those couples that you look at and you're like, I want a marriage like that one day. You know, like I want to be like that, in love with your person. And so yeah, it's cool to have friends that inspire you.
That's awesome. I mean, and it's awesome to see too, even on my end. But speaking of pouring your heart out, let's talk about Heart Theory. I am so excited for the album. What can fans expect from this new music?
They can expect to listen through my journey over the past 3 years. I was about halfway through writing this record when I realized I was writing these songs in order of how I'm feeling them. And I was like, you know, how cool would it be to write an album around something called The 7 Stages of Grief. And the 7 Stages of Grief is just one way of articulating the process of these moments of transformation that we go through in our lives, and really understanding that you need to break down and feel every element to fully like move through that transformation and be able to learn from it and reflect upon it, and then fully be able to let go and find that deeper level of healing from it. And so I was like, how cool would it be if I wrote a concept album around the 7 stages of grief? So track 1 starts in stage 1 of shock, and it goes in order from shock to denial to anger, all the way down to stage 7, track 11 and 12, of acceptance, of where you can look in the mirror and accept yourself for everything that you are, knowing that every moment in your life has forged you into the messy puzzle pieces that we are, and the human beings as we wake up as and show up as every day, and be able to be ready for new things. I think it's the final point of acceptance, of being able to flip that page and be able to open your heart again in ways that you haven't before. I think that any trauma we experience in our life really shows us perspective and you know, reminds us of the humility that is within all of us, and lets us appreciate the things that we take for granted sometimes.
I also want to talk because you share a deeply personal song that you wrote called Make You, which tells about your experience as a young teen that was so personal and so vulnerable for you to share. How did you decide to sort of write this song, and how did you decide to share that with your fans?
I have always wanted to share my story as a little girl, but it just never felt like the right moment. I never wanted it to be a publicity statement. You know, I wanted it just to help a lot of people. And so 3 years ago, I went to this place called Youth for Tomorrow. They're an organization here in the States that deal with youth aged 12 to 18 who have either gotten into the wrong situations growing up, or they deal with a lot of survivors and victims of sex trafficking and rape. And I went there 3 years ago to help them launch their music program, not thinking I was going to speak a word of my own experience.
Wow.
And I ended up sitting down in this conference room with 12 other little girls and sat down and just told them my story. And as I said more, they wanted to share more, and we just had this really, really beautiful moment. And so I walked away from that room and that campus that day knowing that if I didn't use this point in my career and point of my story to share my story and be the most vulnerable I have, then I'm holding back an opportunity to help other little girls like that, or little boys like that, or grown adults, because I feel like this happens far more in our world than any of us want to admit. And so I called up my friend Brandy Clark. You know, Brandy and I have toured a lot around the world over the past few years, and I just think she's so gifted with her words. And I asked her if she'd sit down and help me write this song and talk about my story, and it took her 2 seconds to fearlessly say, yes, thank you for having the courage to want to do this. I would be honored to. And so we sat down, and Make You came out in the period of 2 hours. It was just one of those songs that just sort of fell out. And through that song, I've been able to launch my own foundation.
I was going to ask, is this Make You movement?
Yes.
Tell me about this. This is awesome.
So I am so excited to see where I can grow this thing. You know, it was really important to me to be able to launch it around the song. I specifically want to focus on disenfranchised youth and survivors of sexual violence and domestic abuse. Just because that day at Youth for Tomorrow was so life-changing for me in so many ways. And so every dollar I make off of the song Make You right now goes into my foundation. And we're also partnering up with RAIN.
Awesome.
Which is the biggest organization against sexual violence throughout the country. And so I'm just very excited about the opportunity to fully continue to grow my own foundation, be able to put my money where my mouth is, and help a lot of people hopefully through that process.
I love that. And for our fans watching who want to get involved, what's the best way for them to help to support it?
Yeah, they can go to my Instagram profile. I have the Make You Movement link there, or my website. I have the Make You link there, And when you click onto that page, you can definitely donate if you feel led, or you can find a lot of different resources if maybe somebody is a survivor and is looking for some good places to turn to. I definitely have some links on the site.
That's awesome. So we have album is launching. What else can we look forward to from you this year?
Girl, I am just so excited to get this music out. I have been working on this record for the better part of 3 years, and it feels like this chapter is finally opening, and it is so incredibly exciting. I'm just so proud of this music, and I cannot wait for the world to hear it. And I really hope that, you know, it can be heard by the ears that need to hear it, so that it can inspire them and the people who, you know, are looking for something like this, even if they don't know they're looking for something like this.
They'll hear it and they'll know. Lindsay, this was so wonderful. It was so great to meet you. I am so excited for Heart Theory. I truly cannot wait to listen to the album. And thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and I cannot wait to actually get to do this in person, hopefully sometime soon.